get my oil going, season it up with a little salt. Some pepper. So that's just olive oil and butter in the pan. Once the butter's melted, mix that around and then add my seasonings. Salt, pepper, garlic, a little bit of turmeric. If you've watched any of my other recipe videos, you know I use turmeric in pretty much everything. And this will have a touch of Cumino, ground cumin in it. So we're going to let that keep warming. And I am going to finish cutting my chicken. So I cut the chicken in 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch strips. This is my primary method for preparing chicken for any kind of casseroles or dishes where they're going to be combined with other ingredients. Obviously, if I'm, just baking chicken or frying it, it doesn't get sliced up, but this is a super easy way to cook it fast and infuse it with a lot of flavor. So it's my go-to for any or most of my chicken dishes. Alright, so let's see if this oil is ready. May need to turn it up a little bit. Test that out. We're going to go ahead and put this in here. Yeah, there's a little bit of sizzling going on. So we're just going to place all of the pieces in the pan on top of the seasonings. This is 4 chicken breasts. Obviously you use what you need for the number of people you're going to feed and the size of the dish you're making. This is going to be one of the dishes that we eat part of it, one night, and then maybe a couple nights of leftovers, and the rest goes in the freezer because it reheats nicely, it freezes nicely, and it's just so good that it's something I always enjoy eating. My mother learned how to make this from my paternal grandmother, and I learned to make it from her. It is a family favorite. It's often requested if we're having, friends and family over for dinner. Okay, so we're rolling now. Alright, so I've just now I took the chicken out of the electric skillet. It's just in a bowl, sitting in the microwave waiting for me. And I wiped it out. I poured the juice that came off of the chicken breasts into a bowl with the pieces of chicken because I'm going to use that in the dish. And now that the oil is nice and hot, I'm adding just some long grain white rice. And the rice is going to brown in the hot oil. So you do have to keep an eye on it. Stir it pretty frequently. I'll give it a good stirring just to coat the rice with the oil nicely. And the temperature, I'll have my temperature, looks like on about 300 here on my electric skillet. You do want it hot because that rice needs to get browned. And I just continue chopping vegetables. I actually haven't started chopping vegetables yet because I took the little break to go and feed the horses and the cats and the ducks. We're going to let that brown. Just, again, you check it frequently, you stir it frequently. And it'll go pretty quick. Once it starts browning, it'll go pretty quick. I will take a second. This will be in an upcoming video, but this is one of our estate sale finds that, of course, I just fell in love with it as soon as I saw it, but it really is a practical piece for me as well. So I'm going to chop some onion. I've got a nice big colorful bell pepper here. I'll get those chopped, and the rice will be browning while that happens, and I'll be back with you in just a bit when we're ready to mix some things together. Okay, well, the onions are chopped. Just giving you a little update on the rice. It's starting to brown. I like it a nice dark golden brown. You don't even have to brown it, but I just think it's a prettier dish if it's browned. And that's the tradition in our family for the way we make it. I did turn my heat up just a little bit. So I am at 325, 330 right now. So I'm just going to keep chopping. I'm starting on my bell pepper now. And again, be back in just a bit. We'll be mixing some stuff together soon. Okay. The rice is probably brown enough. It's a personal preference thing, so you can let it get a little darker if you want it to be a little darker. But I just gotta really hit it home hard that you gotta really watch it, because it can brown a lot faster than you realize it's browning, and if you're busy doing other things, it'll burn. That's not a pleasant smell, and then you can't use it. You would have to start over. So just be sure you keep your eye on it. I started that about 5:10, and we're at 5:25 now, so 15 minutes. Obviously, your heat level is going to play a part in that. I did turn the heat up at one point, and then I turned it down at one point. But just watching it and stirring it frequently is key. And we are going to start mixing some things together next. Alright, so my rice is ready. And we're just going to add all these vegetables in now. This is among the favorite parts of this process for me, because once these vegetables start sauteing, it smells heavenly in here. You can use as much onion and bell pepper as you like. I'd say that's probably between medium and large size onion, and then a large bell pepper. You can chop it into whatever sizes you like. Oh, this smell is so good. So I've still got it on high for now. I need that steam to help get those vegetables broken down, release their flavors into the dish. Down a little, and then we're going to add some spices directly to the rice. I just feel like it tastes better if you can kind of coat the rice with the spices. This is some salt, all the same spices that we put on the chicken. Pepper, as with all my recipes, I don't know really how much to tell you to use. We'll do the finger test here in just a bit. So that was salt, pepper, ground Cumino. Some people aren't big fans of ground Cumino. I'm sure this dish would be fine without it. And you can use as little or as much as you like. But we're just going to start with kind of an even coating across the top of the rice to start. Now some garlic. I think that garlic and Cumino together are what give it the classic Mexican flavor profile. And we'll put a little turmeric in just because I really like using turmeric. Not a whole lot, because I don't want the dish to have really a smoky flavor. I just want some health benefits from the turmeric. I'll stir it around some more. that rice nice and coated, get all those vegetables coated. We're smelling like a Mexican restaurant already. All right, and now we're going to let this go covered for just a little bit. Let those vegetables get soft and add a few more ingredients here in just a bit. Let's go in a while. It's time now to add our liquid. So I've got about 5 cups of chicken broth here. It's going to eat up a lot of liquid. The bouillon didn't get quite dissolved. Put that in there like that. And then we're going to also add 4 or 5 cups of water. So about 5 cups of chicken broth, 5 cups of water. Then we add 1 6-ounce can of tomato sauce. I just want to get that all blended and evenly distributed because the rice is going to soak up all these flavors, so that every bite you get is going to be delicious. I'm going to fill my little tomato sauce can with water also. And it's possible that you'll have to add a little more water. Since I don't measure, I just make decisions and add as needed. In the event I put a little bit more rice in the pan than I usually do. We'll get this nice and blended, and then we're going to do the tried and true finger test. Okay, so that's pretty good, but I actually want a little more salt in it. I think sometimes when you add the liquids to it, it dilutes your flavors a bit. You can kind of go by the color. See, it has that, you know, honey brownish kind of color now that I've put the tomato sauce in it. And that's pretty much going to be the color of the dish then when it's finished. So as the rice soaks up this liquid, it was already browned, but then it will take on the tone of this liquid. Another test. That's it right there. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so now we just give it some time. It usually takes 25 minutes or so. We don't want to boil it. This is just like cooking rice on the stove. You want to let it slowly simmer so that it's got time to absorb those the liquid without drying out the rice or causing something to stick. So we'll just give it some time. I'm going to cover it. I've got my heat turned down. Right now I've got my heat turned down to about 250. We'll go down to 225. I'm going to cover this. Again, you want to stir it frequently, check it, make sure it's not sticking and bubbling over the sides, anything like that. and I will be back with you guys for the next steps in just a bit. It's been about 15 minutes now, and you can see that rice has really soaked up a lot of the liquid already. It needs to go probably another 5 or 7 minutes. Then I'll put my chicken in and let it go then for another 5 or 7 minutes. And then it'll be ready to eat. Okay, so while the rice is cooking, I'm going to get my chicken ready, and I need to get that juice from the chicken in here. I kind of like, for chicken and rice, I like sort of a pulled chicken or shredded chicken. We're just going to tear these pieces up. See if I can do it a little more easily with the knife. Okay. You know, I used to just boil a whole chicken, and that's an option still, especially if I know I'm going to be making like a chicken noodle soup or a chicken tortilla soup. I'll boil a chicken. I can use the broth from that, and then you just obviously bone the chicken once it's cooked. That's a lot of work, but that's an option too. So if you want to do that, or if you even just want to buy your chicken already cooked, whatever your preferences are for the chicken. Again, this is just my tried and true standard chicken preparation, and I just change the seasonings up based on what the dish is and what flavor I'm going for. Oh, this is just so nice and tender. This here feels like I got a little bit of fat or the keel in it, so that's why that's sitting over there. So I'm just going to get this torn up. I don't add the chicken until like the last 5 to 10 minutes that the dish is cooking. So when the rice is just about done, the chicken will go in, and that's because I just don't want the chicken to, you know, break down anymore, and the pieces become so small that you don't notice them. So I guess you can kind of see the sizes I'm working with. Not real big, but it makes it easy to then spread that chicken throughout the whole dish so that there's chicken in every bite. And part of the reason, again, I want to do this is because I've got this nice broth kind of that came off of the chicken from the olive oil and the butter that I cooked it in. So I'm going to add that to the dish. And as always, we'll be back in just a bit with some more progress. Alright, so we're down to the last few minutes of the rice cooking. So the chicken's going in. You can see why I like to use my big electric skillet. Just get this mixed in. You can see that chicken, there's going to be plenty of chicken in it. This is enough to feed a small army. But I came from a family, there were 4 of us kids in the family, and then I had 4 of my own, so I pretty much only know how to cook big batches of everything. But freezer comes in handy, so we can just divvy it up and plan to have additional meals. Alright, I'm going to turn my heat down some more and just let this go. Again, another 5 or 7 minutes. Heat that chicken up. Let that rice finish cooking. And we'll have it served up on a plate next.